There's a lot of birds outside, but we're not talking bird. We're talking dirty birds today, Atlanta Falcons, ranking at number 21 overall, a team that I could see winning 11 plus games this season, but at the same time, I could see them winning like 5 games. There's a lot of spectrum for them, and I'm not talking about the internet, but I'm talking about the dirty birds here. And we're going to get into this football team starting with the O line. This O line, well coached O line. It's a very solid O line, even though the rankings may not state that. It's mainly because you look at this and you say center 29th, Ryan Newsel. I like Newsel. I thought he played really, really good for them in lieu of Drew Dahlman. And I think that's the reason, with Dahlman and the inconsistency, especially snapping his strength, stuff like that. They were like, you know what, Newsel came in here. He looked just as good and you don't really miss a beat. I just rank him a little bit lower because I need to see it from a full season sample size. Like that's just really what it comes down to. Overall, though, their center position, their guard position looks really, really good. Their tackle position, McGarry, he always seems to struggle like the first 5 games of the year in pass pro. I don't know what it is with McGarry, but then he typically smooths out. And then he got long-term veteran Jake Matthews. I'm not calling him old out here, okay? No ageism. Jake Matthews, really good football player. He is the definition of a Iron Man Stable-worth left tackle that is just tried and true. You plug him in. You just don't really have to worry about Jake Matthews too much. Sure, he's not the most powerful in the run game, but he does his job. He'll protect the quarterback, even though he's not Penix's blindside protector. McGarry is, which, like I talked about, is a little concerning at moments with that pass protection issues that he does have. But he's a great run blocker. I'll tell you that right now. Storm Norton as their main swing tackle. They got Jack Nelson they drafted. Their one offensive draft pick that they got in the draft in the 7th round. Do I actually think Jack Nelson's a good pick for them? A good developmental guy with some size and athleticism upside. And then on the interior, this would be my one main concern with the offensive line. It's just the lack of depth on the interior. If you start having some injuries here, then I'm starting to worry about it a little bit. Who's going to be able to step up? Maybe they hit the veteran market to see if they can get somebody with some more experience. I mean, you got some experience with Elijah Hill, Wilkerson, and Kyle Hinton. But in general, that would be my one concern. Joshua Gray certainly has a good chance to make the roster with his versatility there and his outside zone ability and athleticism. Overall, the offensive line looks really good. It's just that one area for me. And you get your well coach, as I mentioned before. On to the wide receiving position, which looks really, really solid. They're going to play 11 personnel. Now, I do think this year they maybe they play a little bit more 12 personnel. I think this team was like the most 11 personnel in the NFL last season. Zach Robinson, right, coming over from the Rams, that Sean McVay system. It's like, yo, we put out 11 personnel, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep you going on that. I would like them to play a little bit more under center, play action stuff with Michael Penix being able to do that. Obviously, they didn't feel comfortable with Kirk Cousins coming off an ACL injury, so I understand that. We'll talk more about that in the quarterback section. But they're going to use these 3 wide receivers, and they're going to use those sets. And Drake London, Darnell Mooney, unfortunately injured right now, shoulder injury. So he's going to be out for a few weeks. But you got Ray McLeod, you got Cordell Hodge. Hodge was really good down the stretch for them. Raymond McLeod gives them some good special teams, kick return ability. You got Jamal Agnew, also special teams for sure, and he's going to give you some punt return ability as long as he can stay healthy. David Sills, I hear, has got a good connection with Kirk Cousins out there in training camp right now. Can be talking whatnot, but he's got a chance to make the roster. Nick Nash, somebody that I kind of like a lot, and he just lacks the ideal speed. But I thought he played faster in pads than maybe the 40, even though he didn't really, I don't think he ran a 40 time, but in terms of like what I think he runs a little bit faster in pads. He's an older prospect, but a dude, if nothing else, could be like a big X slot matchup 6 wide receiver for them. So something to keep in mind. Red zone ability. Casey Washington, they break DJ Charkin. And hey, why not, right? Especially with the Darnell Mooney injury, can be somebody that can give you a little vertical X out there or a ZX type of ability. And besides that, though, maybe Quincy Skinner could end up making the roster here. He's probably more of a practice squad candidate for me in my eyes. So that's really what I think Washington, Hodge, McLeod, Mooney, and obviously London are locks to really make the roster here. Overall, though, I rank this wide receiver group at number 18. I think they're in a really good position, especially when you got a true number 1, Drake London, who could emerge as that superstar this season. He's been fantastic so far in his career, and even with the quarterback play, and I don't want to blame it all on the quarterback play, but I think even with that, where he's been right now, he has been fantastic and certainly has the ability to take the next step into his superstar career. But speaking of the next step, where's the Kyle Pitts, man? Mr. Pitts, right? And they're not talking about Dead Poet Society, but man, he really needs to shape it up this year, whether it's poetry that does the trick, rapping, I don't care, freestyle. Kyle Pitts, we need to see more of you this season. We need to see more consistency, especially at the end of the year. Like what we saw with Michael Penix Jr., maybe that connection can be a wizardry magician, something we just need to see it for Kyle Pitts going into a contract year. Charlie Warner, Tegan Quintariano, The depth, a little bit thin. Maybe John Simpson ends up competing there for roster spots. Filippo Franks, quarterback conversion. So it's just going to be a little bit of a wild card with some of their depth here. Kyle Pitts, you got to step up, even though it's not that big of a deal since they don't play a whole ton of 12 personnel, but maybe they will a little more this season. Running back wise, it's ranked number 1 in the NFL for a good reason. Look who's there. Dijon Robinson. When you got your own mustard, you're automatically puts you above everybody else with the sauce. You got Tyler Algier, an underrated running back, would be starting on many football teams in the National Football League. Now, who's that number 3 guy? That's going to be my only question here. Maybe Nate Carter gets an opportunity here. Carlos Washington, Elijah Dotson, Joshua Corbin. It's going to be a big thing here, but they don't really need to worry about it too much as long as they don't have too many injuries. Like Algier and Bijan, feed those guys in that outside zone system, man. It's going to be working for them all day. Moving on to the quarterback conversation, though. Michael Penix Jr. into year number 2 now. Very excited for this. Hoosiers, let's go, right? Hey, he's still a Hoosier through and through. I don't forget about that, man, and what he did for the IU Hoosiers. And you look at Michael Penix Jr., I think he has some of the highest level throws out of any of the rookie quarter. Even Jaden Daniels, Jaden Daniels was exceptional. So, that's respect, of course. But when you watch Michael Penix Jr., that stretch down the end of the season, it's like some of those throws he made were elite level throws. You got to clean up some of the stuff, right? He had some bad throws too mixed in there. And I don't want to, stay where it is. But I think Michael Penix Jr. absolutely has all the makings of being a quick decision maker. He's got a rifle arm, clean up some of those decision-making issues, man, and the dude could be an absolute monster. So we shall see, right? The fingers are crossed with Michael Penix Jr. that he can be the franchise quarterback for this football team. Kirk Cousins, though, hey, what will happen with Kirk Cousins? Does he get traded before the season? We'll maybe have a team that's competing that gets an injured quarterback and then calls for this football team somewhere around week 4, week 5. Like, there's a lot of possibilities where Kirk Cousins, I still think Kirk Cousins is, at this point, he's so undervalued. Really, he is. And whoever ends up getting him probably is going to get a really, really cheap price, mainly because of that contract and everything like that. It's a little unfortunate situation for Atlanta. But in terms of Kirk Cousins, I almost feel a little bit bad for him. He was coming off an ACL injury. It's tough. And especially for a guy who doesn't really have a whole ton of mobility, I feel like he's going to be way better this year if he does get a chance somewhere else. So I'm wishing him the best, too. I like Kirk Cousins, Michigan State fan. On to the defense side of the ball. I know the bias is coming out here, but the defensive line, this has the potential to be ideally the most improved unit in the NFL, period. And hey, when we were going into the season, they were ranked, I think, 32nd for me going. They were tossed up with them in Carolina. But right now, I have them much higher overall edge, ranked 22, interior defensive line 28. And I think that is just like a floor at this point for this edge room. You got Jalen Walker, first round pick. Of course, you trade up to get James Pierce Jr. As much of the controversy that I actually didn't, I was one of the people that I don't mind it. I get it. It's giving up a lot. I think Pierce could be worth it. He has all the tools, all the traits to be an elite edge rusher. He may not be the day one full-time starter. I think he may be a little bit like a Nolan Smith project where he takes a full season, but that's really what you expect in general. I think Jalen Walker is a bit more of a project than people believe. I personally was higher on Pierce than Walker, but Walker to me is a more like has a higher floor. That's really what it is. I think Walker, he's just going to be a football player. He's going to be a gamer. He's going to be somebody out there that you can line him up. He's going to make plays, right? Now, I think Pierce though has the elite, frame, size, athleticism profile to be a rock star number 1 edge rusher in the NFL. Not saying Jalen Walker can't, because he certainly has all the traits to do that too. Walker is going to be very interesting because this team, remember, you got to look at the coaching staff too with Raheem Morris. It gets a little complicated the way this defense works. I put everybody in a nickel 4-3 package, but this team's going to play a lot of 3-4 fronts. Raheem Morris, and of course you got Jeff Ulbrich. That combination of those two guys, obviously Ulbrich comes from more of a 4-3 defense, and then you got a guy like Raheem Morris who wants to play more 3-4 defenses. So they're going to mix things up, and they have the personnel to do that. So I just want to kind of state that really right now. Between Walker, Ebiketie, Pierce, Floyd, Trice, that is to me, those are your 5 guys that you keep on the roster. That's a really, really good group that has elite potential to be a very good unit in the future between Ebiketie, Walker, and also Pierce. So we'll see, and Trice too. And on the interior, this is another group that I think is going to be majorly improved, but it does come down to the development of like guys like Aruka Rororo, Brandon Dorless, a guy that I like a lot. I think Dorless is being slept on a little bit. That dude just needs to get stronger. Seriously, watch out for Dorless this season. I think he could be one of those dudes that kind of shocks everybody. Zach Harrison, another dude that needs to get more snaps this year. Like, come on, get him on the football field. I'm also thinking he'll play in base 4-3 packages as the defensive end. So these are also same thing with Dorless. Like he's another one of those guys that could play base 4-3 end. So there's a mix of dudes here. They got a lot of undersized guys. Kavarius Street, another situational passer. So we'll see if he ends up making the roster. My guess is that Dorless ends up beating him out, and then maybe they end up moving on from Street because hey, they're probably not gonna be able to keep all these guys out here. And then they're gonna have to determine which big guys do they want to keep. And that's the one question mark. Who's going to play nose? If anybody's playing nose out here, is it Anyamata? That's my guess who's going to play the most amount of nose. Maybe a Row will play some nose snaps in uncertain downs on rush downs. Morgan Fox, I know here he's getting some reps at nose. Taquan Graham's the one bigger, stronger guy here in Lacal London's put on some weight and whatnot. So maybe he takes some opportunities at nose. I don't know, right? That's the one little concern. Are they going to get gashed in the run game? You got Simeon Barrow from Miami. He's a guy that I thought looked pretty good at Miami and could end up making the roster, be a little bit of a surpriser, and once again could beat out of Kavarius Street. Try to keep the youth out there, depending on what they want to do, what kind of movement they want to roll with on that interior defense line. So that's really what I'm seeing here with this defensive line. I think it has a lot of upside, and we'll see how this young guys develop. Right, it's just a lot of youth, a lot of fun to watch. On to the linebacking core here. I actually rank this higher than maybe I'm sure what a lot of Atlanta Falcons fans would say right now, but Divine Diablo. Here's where I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. In Jeff Ulbrich's scheme, this is a dream fit. This is really the ideal landing spot for Divine Diablo. He was a little unproductive in my eyes for the Raiders last season. You pair him, though, here in this scheme where you look at the track record that Ulbrich has, converting safeties to linebackers and his coaching scheme that just really simplifies things, and it's going to make it like the Diablo's going to be that coverage guy for them. Ellis is going to be that blitzer, run defender guy. And, as long as you keep Ellis clean, that dude can make tons and tons of plays. Like you saw what he was able to do when he was used more as a blitzer, run defender at the end. He's not really a coverage guy. But Diablo is going to be that, right? Now, Anderson, he's injured again, and that's been his biggest knock. Like he has all the tools to be a 3-down workhorse guy. We just have not been able to see that at all. And when he's been on the field, I mean, you get some glimpses of it, right? I mean, you go to some games last year. What was he like the player of the week for the New Orleans Saints game? So you get some glimpses of it. But then there's other games where it's like, okay, this guy cannot fit the run. He'll struggle in coverage at times. Like he seems lost out there. It's really potential with Anderson, and injuries have been his biggest thing. You got J.E. Bertrand, also a guy that they spent a mid-round pick on. So overall, I think this linebacking core will be solid. I don't think it's an elite unit, but it's a good group. And I think that with coaching and everything like that, they're going to be a mid-tier linebacker position. And Ellis is a beast. So at least you got a really good linebacker in there. Now, cornerback is another position where you're going to look at depth here and you're going to say, okay, who's going to be that next guy on the outside? Now, the slot corner position is going to have a lot of competition here. I rank him 20th. AJ Terrell is a beast. Mike Hughes you need to make the arguments he was better at times than AJ Terrell last season. Hughes was really, really good. Terrell's a really good football player, and he's been an Iron Man too for them. So that's, got to give him credit. He's taking on number one wide receivers week in, week out. So that's also tough assignments. It makes it a little bit easier for Mike Hughes. But Hughes is a good player. He's a little streaky at times throughout his career, but he had a really good year last season. So if he can duplicate that, then they're in a really good position on the outside. It just comes down to who's going to be that number two guy on the outside. Clark Phillips, probably not really a slot guy. Could, he's just undersized and his tackling is really poor. And that's really why I don't think he can start for a lot of football teams. The tackling issue in general for this football team has been an issue on the outside, run defense and stuff like that. So the technique, the coaching has to be improved this season. I do think Ulbrich will do a better job coaching that up. So you got Keith Taylor, you got Kobe Bryant. I thought that, even though they didn't have many draft picks, I thought they found some really good UDFAs, and Kobe Bryant, certainly one of those guys. He should make the roster. I'd be shocked if he does not make the roster. And then, I mean, he could at least practice squad, but he should make the roster in my eyes with this cornerback depth. Why not? And then saw cornerback D. Alford had a rough season. Another guy, looked terrible in coverage at times, and his tackling was terrible too. Now, Natron Brooks, a guy that looked good. When he got his limited opportunities, he was really, really good. And he's going to be competing. You got Billy Bowman Jr. going to be competing. So between Brooks, Bowman Jr., watch out, right? And Bowman, of course, can play safety, can play slot corner, has the movement skills to play both, and certainly a dude that was taking some first-team reps. And, he's been taking first and second-team reps so far in training camp. Those three guys going to be competing for that slot corner position. So that is really the big question. How does the slot position look like? That cannot be as big of a weakness as it was last season for this football team. Then you go into the safety position. And you look at the safety room, it looks really good. I rank them number 5 in the NFL. It starts with Jesse Bates, of course, a superstar, one of the best safeties in the NFL, period. And then you got Xavier Watson in the third round, pick, 98? That was a really big time steal, in my opinion. People are going to look at it a little back. I think people will look back on that and be like, oh, that was a really stupid that he fell that far. To me, he ends up winning the job. I have Fuller in there for the veteran leadership, Jeff Ulbrich and everything like that, the experience. I get that. But I do think Watts ends up being the starter at some point this season. He's just too good not to start in my eyes. Bates, Watts as a 1-2 punch, that could be elite ball hawking tandem. Like, you're talking 10 plus interceptions possibly between these two guys if they reach their potential. And then Demeco Hellam's a great, third, fourth safety to have on the roster and special teamer as well. So I think those are your guys that end up making the roster. And then we go on to the coaching staff. And this is a coaching staff that ranked at 21. This coaching staff has a lot of upside. But when it comes down to Raheem Morris, there's a lot to be proven here for me. He's got to show more discipline with this football team. The penalties, the stupid mistakes, those things have to be cleaned up this season. Now, Zach Robinson, also would like to see him, he's going to get more opportunities this year with Michael Penix in terms of play action, getting more creative with the offense. And look, there were some really creative moments for this football team, and I think Zach Robinson has a lot of potential to be a really good offensive coordinator. So going to year number 2, building some success, I want to see how he tailors the scheme around Michael Penix and his strengths. And the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, true defensive mind. He'll be right. He should level them out. So I'm not really worried about that. I think he'll be a solid defensive coach for them and help out this defense in general. So finishing things up here with the record prediction. What do I have the Atlanta Falcons going? Drum roll, please, at number 21. No whammy, 7-10. I know it's a tough call. There's so much talent on this roster, so much potential. We'll see if they reach that potential. That's really the big thing for the Atlanta Falcons. All that youth, combined with some experience on the roster, how well they mold, how does the coaching staff go about it this year? Most of these guys going into year number 2, except for Jeff Ulbrich. So that will be a big, big question mark that's looming on this football team. I want to see Raheem Morris a little bit more discipline with this football team, less mistakes, less turnovers, less penalties. And this team could be a very good, like I talked about at the very beginning, they could win 11 games. They could also maybe win 5 games. It's just, this team is a very wild card football team. I'm really excited though for the Dirty Birds. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Where are you at on them, right? Let's go. Let's bring some hype out here, right? We need to get this thing going. We need to actually win the Super Bowl. No more 28-3s. Put that behind us. Hope you guys have a cool day though. I'll talk to you guys later. My name's G Slang. Let's go.